Dr. James Davidson has come to Bulow State Park in Volusia County, Florida, on a special mission to look for people who are no longer there. In this place, in 1821, Major Charles Wilhelm Bulow and his family began to build what would become the largest plantation in East Florida. They planted important cash crops: indigo, cotton, rice, and sugarcane. The ruins of the sugar mill are still standing, on view for curious tourists. But the plantation's success actually depended on the back-breaking labor of dozens of Africans. They had been kidnapped from their home continent and brought unwillingly across the Atlantic, finally arriving in Florida to work for the Bulows. Dr. Davidson has come to look for them.
The field school this summer is focusing on Cabin 3, which was a cabin built in 1821, occupied for 14 years and destroyed by the Seminole Indians during the Second Seminole War. It was also briefly occupied in the last 6 weeks of its life by United States soldiers as a fort. This was deemed Fort Bulowville and was used as a base of operations against the Seminoles in 1835 and early 1836. It was burned to the ground sometime in January of 1836.
To the untrained eye, this wooded setting appears quite natural, with no indication that it was once home to African slaves. But Dr. Davidson knows how to read the material traces of people who were once here, who built their cabins on this spot of land. Dr. Davidson is an archaeologist. He can detect their presence despite their absence. Just underneath the soil, Dr. Davidson and his field school students from the University of Florida are revealing the remnants of the houses and belongings, and thus part of the history of a group of people who have been left out of the history books.
So we're also getting a bit of history in regards to Florida history that you can't really get the same experience in a history book. It's a visceral experience to be able to find something, hold something that was used by Africans in colonial Florida.
Their cabins, like the rest of the plantation, were burned in the Seminole War in 1836. Burning preserved some parts of the structure, along with evidence of the event that destroyed it. Beneath bits of burned roof and fallen chimney are the floors the slaves once walked upon, and even some of the possessions they left behind. Although these materials seem to be all mixed up with the soil today, their careful removal and recording of their original locations are what allowed Dr. Davidson and his students to piece together a small picture of the daily life of slaves, revealing a story that up to now has not been told.
It does give us the chance to expose undergraduates and others their own history, and a history in a way that they could not know through a book. It is unique in its ability to transport people back in time and be able to, in a little way, walk in another person's shoes and understand that experience a little bit through the excavation of a house, perhaps, to find a button or a bead. To understand the people a little bit through that context is a remarkable experience.